Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 Global Climate Youth Council session titled Voices of Asian and South American Youth Confronting the Climate Crisis. My name is Kyung Park, and I'm truly honored to be here to serve as a moderator for session 1 today. As we gather here in Boll, we are reminded that the climate crisis knows no borders. From the rising sea levels threatening Pacific Islands and Southeast Asian coastlines to the intensifying droughts and deforestation across South America, our regions share both the vulnerability and determination to act. Today's session is about amplifying those shared voices, the courage, creativity, and leadership of youth from Asia and South America who are taking action to protect our planet. Throughout this discussion, we'll explore not only the challenges we face, but also the innovative solutions and collaborations emerging from youth movements across both regions. I invite everyone to listen, engage, and reflect on how we, as the new generation, can bridge the continents to confront this global challenge together. Before we begin, we have a special message to share. Please join me in welcoming Jin-sang Kim, the president of Kyung University, who will deliver his opening remarks through a video message.
안녕하세요. 경희대학교 총장 김대성입니다. 2025 글로벌 청년기후의회 기후위기에 맞선 아시아 남미 청년의 목소리 행사에 함께해 주신 여러분을 진심으로 환영합니다. 올해로 창립 76주년을 맞은 경희대학교는 문화세계 창조라는 거막 이념 아래 인간과 지구의 공존을 위한 길을 모색해왔습니다. 특히 2011년 세계적 수준의 교양대학인 후마니타스 칼리지를 설립한 이후 무엇이 인간을 인간에게 하는가라는 본질적인 질문을 교육의 중심에 두고 세계 시민 양성에 전념해왔습니다. 오늘날 우리는 심각한 기후위기에 직면해 있습니다. 끝없이 이어지는 폭염과 폭우, 지진가스 라면은 자연의 경고입니다. 우리에도 어김없이 불어닥친 지구 열대화 속에서 자연이 고갈되고 대기가 오염되며 기후위기의 속도는 더욱 빨라지고 있습니다. 지구 종말 시계는 지구 멸망 89초 전을 가리키며 인류에게 근본적인 물음을 던지고 있습니다. 공멸인가 공생인가? 우리는 지금 문명의 전환점에 서 있습니다. 이제 우리는 인간과 자연 그리고 인간들 사이의 조화를 회복해야 합니다. 정의와 평등 그리고 회복력을 중심에 둔 새로운 체제를 만들어 가야 합니다. 미래 시대에게 필요한 것은 단순한 성장의 논리가 아니라 상상력과 연대의 힘입니다. 지금 우리가 살아가는 체제는 기성세대가 만들어온 세계입니다. 그러나 새로운 세대는 그 한계를 넘어설 수 있는 용기와 비전을 지니고 있습니다. 오늘 이 자리에 함께한 아시아와 남미의 청년들이 서로의 목소리를 나누고 연대의 다리를 놓는 모습이 바로 희망입니다. 여러분의 생각과 행동이 인류의 미래를 바꿀 것입니다. 경희대학교는 여러분과 함께 정의로운 전환의 길을 걸어가겠습니다. 더 나은 인간, 더 나은 세계를 향해 함께 나아갑시다. 감사합니다.
Thank you, President Kim, for your inspiring remarks. Next, we are pleased to welcome a video message from Jasmine Walda, the director of Heinrich Foundation East Asia Office.
Hello everyone and warm greetings Council. It's a joy to be connected with you across continents and not only virtually. I'm really happy to see so many young people from Asia and South America joining forces at COP30. First and foremost, a big thank you to Kyung University's Humanitas College, Coolimate, and the Energy and Climate Policy Institute for making this happen. And to all of you for bringing your energy, your ideas, and your curiosity into the space. This spirit of collaboration is what the climate movement needs most right now. Over the past year, through the Youth Climate Council, we received on young people in Korea, Japan, and across the region of building new ways of learning and thinking. Now, with friends from Brazil and other parts of South America, this network is expanding oceans, and growing beyond conflicts. It shows that climate justice is something we learn by listening to one another and by asking how we can move forward together. This COP comes at a difficult moment in time. As you know, it will be the first COP since the climate negotiations began, where the United States, still the country with the greatest historical responsibility for global greenhouse gas emissions, is absent from the table. With the US stepping away from the Paris Agreement, many are questioning whether and how multilateral cooperation can even work at all. But moments like this are exactly when we must show why it can and why it must. Gatherings like yours remind us that real change does not wait for anyone to give it a green light. It just gets moving. And it usually starts with a group chat, not a government. It begins when people come together, connect across borders, speak freely, and hold one another accountable. That's how trust, hope, and change can take root, or as sometimes we know. At the Heinrich Foundation, we try to create and nurture such spaces wherever we are. In East Asia, this means helping young people, researchers, and parliamentarians work side by side, making climate policy more transparent, science-based, and ultimately more equitable and just. Our goal is simple: to make sure the path toward carbon neutrality is also a path towards democracy and justice. I hope this exchange gives you courage and new friendships that will last beyond COP30. Thank you, and I wish you a meaningful and joyful time together.
Thank you, Jasmine, for sharing your insightful thoughts. Now, let us begin the session one. The session one is Voices of Korean Youth by 5 youth speakers from Kyung University who will share their insights and experiences. Before we start, a quick note for our audience. You can access the full scripts. So you can access the full scripts of each speaker's presentations in both Korean and also in English by scanning the QR code over there. So please feel free to follow along or revisit the content during the sessions. To begin our session, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Min-gyu Choi, a student majoring in political science and international relations at Kyung University. He will open today's presentation by sharing his perspective on green ODA. Please give him a big applause.
Hello, my name is Min-gyu Choi and I study the political science and international relations at Kyung University. The climate crisis is a global issue, but its impacts are far from equal. Developing countries that have emitted very little greenhouse gas are suffering the most severe consequence. In 2022, one-third of Pakistan was submerged underwater. Zambia and Kenya experienced drought that led to food shortage. Island nations such as Fiji and Tuvalu are preparing for relocation due to rising sea levels. Thus, the climate crisis is not merely an environment issue. It is an issue of inequality and justice. I believe that reform of green official development assistance called Green ODA is essential to realizing climate justice. However, current climate finance is still far from sufficient. Experts point out that in order to limit global temperature rise to below 1.5 degrees Celsius, the world needs $1.3 trillion every year. Yet, the COP29 conference in Baku developed countries only agreed to provide $300 billion annually by 2035. Then, how is the Republic of Korea implementing Green ODA? Korea established that Green New Deal ODA implementation strategy, which aims to raise the proportion of Green ODA to the OECD DAC average of 28.1% by 2025. In fact, in 2021, Korea exceeded this goal, reaching 35% based on the commit amount. However, when viewed in terms of the official development assistance to gross national income ratio, which reflect the overall size of aid relative to national income, Korea ratio stands at 0.21%, far below the DAC average of 0.33%, ranking 26 among member countries. Korea, in other words, Korea's total ODA volume remains small compared to size of its economy. Some ODA projects have even caused harm rather than help. A representative example is the Laos Dam construction project by SK Engineering and Construction, which was carried out as part of an ODA program but collapsed, causing hundreds of deaths and severe environmental destruction. This case demonstrates how aid that lacks local participation and sustainability can lead to disastrous results. Other issue is the Korea ODA policies often change direction depending on administration shift. Climate-related ODA lack consistency, and even if it increased under one government, it could be reduced under the next. Therefore, a reform of Korea Green ODA is urgently needed. I would like to propose 5 key directions for improvement. 1. Expand climate-related ODA, a simple but fundamental first step. 2. Shift toward adaptation and resilience. Support should focus not only on emission reduction, but also on helping recipient countries adapt to climate impacts. 3. Combine technology and institutional capacity transfer. Aid should go beyond finance to strengthen systems such as renewable energy and environmental governance. 4. Enhance civic monitoring and participation. Youth and citizens should observe ODA budgeting and implementation, promote institutional reform, and amplify the voice of vulnerable communities. 5. Institutionalize Green ODA. Legal framework should ensure consistent climate policy regardless of changes in government of foreign policy direction. Ultimately, supporting developing countries is not a choice but a duty of humanity. If we reform Green ODA to be transparent and sustainable, we can realize climate justice and create a planet where everyone can live together in harmony. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for sharing your insightful suggestions. Next, we will hear from Kyung Lee, a student majoring in physical education. Now moving on to our next speaker, please welcome Yeonu Song from the School of Liberal Studies at Kyung University. She will introduce the Green Nest Project, Coexistence for Campus Biodiversity. Let's give a big, warm round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start, I just want to say thank you for your attention. I hope you find this topic as interesting as I do, and let's get started. Imagine walking across your campus early in the morning. You hear no birds singing, just the sound of traffic and air conditioners. That silence is not a peace, it's a warning. Young people living in the cities must worry the silence. Universities are not only places for learning, but also small ecosystems. What happens in our campus mirrors what happened on our planet. My name is Yeonu Song, representing Kyung University. I've been exploring how campuses can become spaces for coexistence between human and non-human lives. Today, I will share the story of Green Nest Project, how we turned a simple idea of installing birdhouses into a vision of ecological citizenship on campus. Global climate discussion often focus on industry, energy, and human safety. Yet other forms of life, bird, insect, and plants rarely appear in those policies. Even campuses designed to look green are built mainly for people. Paved roads, trimmed lawns, and tidy gardens may look beautiful, but they silence the natural world. Birds lose their homes, insects lose their habitat, and ecosystems lose their balance. In response, we launched the Green Nest project at Kyung University. Our goal is simple: to rebuild ecological connection with it our own. Each year, students and faculty install birdhouses and feeders together across the Seoul and global campuses. The birdhouses provide safe nests for breeding and roasting, while the feeders offer global food during crucial seasons like summer. These are not symbolic actions. They directly support biodiversity and reconnect urban nature. What makes this project special is how students take ownership. Through the platform naturing.net, we record species observation throughout the year, turning our campus into a digital biodiversity map updated year by year. In fact, just 10 participants have already recorded more than 80 species around our campus, all contributing to the creation of our biodiversity map. Please take a look at the picture above. We see this not just as a science project, but as an education in ecological sensitivity. As one participating student shared, I will never forget the thrill of seeing a small bird use the green birdhouse I installed. I wasn't just about a slogan about protecting nature. I felt like I had truly become a good neighbor to our campus ecosystem. By seeing, recording, and protecting life around us, we learn to notice, care for, and coexist with it. Our next goal is to expand this model beyond our campus. We believe every university can create its own campus for coexistence, where students lead biodiversity mapping and ecological design projects. Together with global youth networks like Climate Ask and Younggo, we should draft an international youth declaration for COP30, calling for ecological rights to be recognized alongside human rights in climate justice. The Green Nest project started with a simple question: who shares this campus with us? Through birdhouses, feeders, and maps, we discovered that small actions can trust between human and nature. So next time you hear birds singing on your campus, listen carefully. That sound isn't just a music. It's a message that coexistence is possible, and it begins right where we learn. Thank you. 감사합니다.
Thank you for sharing such an innovative project. Next, we will hear from Kyung Lee, a student majoring in physical education at Kyung University. She will present on securing the safety of the sports community through mandatory YBGT standardization and eco-friendly energy transitions. Let's give a big round of applause.
Good day. I'm Kyung Lee, a sophomore from the Department of Physical Education at Kyung University. As a former student athlete who has personally run on the field and watched athletes train up close, I have directly witnessed the immense crisis facing the sports field that so many people love today. Heat waves caused by climate change. This heat is not just hot weather. Heat waves threaten the lives of athletes, shorten their athlete career, and furthermore pose a human rights and labor environment problem that even threatens spectators' safety. Sports should be just fair and inspire everyone. Today, I propose a concrete and integrated solution to overcome this crisis and make sports a true social model. Then, what is the root cause of this structural crisis? It is the institutional imbalance. While the WBGT, that is wet bulb globe temperature standard, is legally mandated for worker protection in industrial sites. Unfortunately, in our sports field, this standard still remains a recommendation, despite sports personnel being workers exposed to heat waves for the longest time. Their safety is always pushed aside by the commercial and economic interests of the clubs and leagues. According to broadcast schedules, according to sponsor demands, athlete safety become an option. The safety and human rights of athletes must be a prerequisite for the sustainability of sports, not an option for revenue. We cannot discuss the future of sports without solving this structural problem. I propose an integrated strategy that combines climate adaptation and carbon mitigation for the sustainability of sports. First, legal mandatory standard of WBGT criteria and reinforcement of operating guidelines. This is the most urgent action. The three-stage games operation guidelines based on the WBGT value must be elevated from the current recommendation level to a legal binding mandatory standard. The installation of WBGT measuring devices in stadium must be obligated to implement safety management based on real-time data. Second, securing accountability through the development of a Sports Climate Resilience Index. For a long time preparation, a Sports Climate Resilience Index must be developed. This index comprehensively evaluated WBGT data and the environmental adaptation level of infrastructure. This index must be utilized as a core indicator of the mandatory issuance of sustainability reports by clubs and leagues, federations, thereby securing accountability for climate risk management. Third, integrated implementation through renewable energy linkage. When games are delayed due to heat waves based on the WBGT standard, night games are encouraged, and the increased lighting power required during this time is covered by renewable energy, such as solar power. This aligns exactly with the direction of renewable energy transition proposed by the IOC's carbon positive goal and UNFCCC's Sports for Climate Action Framework. We simultaneously achieved the international goals of securing athlete safety and reducing the carbon footprints, demonstrating that sports can be social leaders who cares about the environment. For this proposal to succeed in the field, the participation of fans is essential. First, awareness improvement campaign. Continuous campaigns must be conducted so that fans understand can game postponement as an unavoidable safety and human rights measure. Second, EcoCoin. The EcoCoin friendly incentive system. EcoCoin points are provided to spectators who excellently participate in using reusable containers or separating waste. These coins are converted into practical benefits such as discount on merchandise, ticket price reduction, or opportunities to purchase limited edition goods, thereby encouraging fans' voluntary environment action. This system is dramatically reduce stadium waste discharge and lower entire sports communities' carbon footprints. In this era climate crisis, we must proactively protect the human rights and safety of athletes. Protecting life through the introduction of WBGT will become the most powerful weapon for raising the credibility of the sports industry. Let us act now so that sports can go beyond simple entertainment and establishes itself as a social model leading a sustainability future and just transition. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Kyung, for your insightful presentations. For our next presentation, we'll hear from Hyun-Suk Kim, a student majoring in Industrial and Management Systems Engineering at Kyung University. She will introduce forest reforestation as a global team project. Please give her a big hand.
Hola, boa tarde. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hyun-Suk Kim. I'm a senior majoring in Industrial Engineering in the Republic of Korea. Yeah. Keeping the global temperature rise below 2 Celsius is one of the greatest team projects, right? In this big project, my focus is on forests. I will present an ideal scenario in which industry, government, and citizens work together to establish forest restoration as a sustainable management system. According to South Korea greenhouse gas inventory, the country's forest carbon absorption has been continuously declining over the past 6 years. One of the key reasons is the increasing frequency of large-scale wildfires in Korea. In recent years, unprecedented forest fires brought fear and tension across the country. In particular, the wildfire that struck the northern region of South Korea, which is Ulsan, 2022, devastated the forest, which is 2 sides of the Paris. Complete restoration will take 30 years at least. This event was not a natural disaster. It was a stark reminder that forests are not our powerful carbon sink anymore because Korea has one of the highest carbon absorption capacities of forests per unit area in the world. The ongoing restoration project in Ulsan is remarkable. It follows a collaborative governance model involving the government, authorities, experts, and residents. The recovery activities include establishing a local museum, and landowners decided to cultivate local mushroom species to support local forestry workers in that region. This initiative, which integrates ecological restoration, community recovery, and economic independence, was recognized as an exemplary case by FAO. Restoration is not merely just planting trees. It's a just transition where nature, people, and the future are restored together. Korea's major corporations are also taking part. Companies such as Hyundai or Samsung are engaging in reforestation projects both domestically and abroad. However, there is a challenge, which is the lack of consistent management and verification system. There are few standardized or international indicators to objectively assess corporate ESG activities related to forests. Many reports focus on the number of trees or the size of the farm planted. Yet, there is no sufficient long-term data on whether those trees survive, absorb carbon, or restore ecosystems. So we need a framework that assesses corporate ESG performance based on impact, not just numbers. Such a system enables stronger cooperation between governments, corporations, and nations. Last month, at the Asian Forest Corporation, both government officials and corporate executives gathered to discuss expanding corporate participation in forests of Asia. Korea, we have our advanced research capabilities, rich databases, and high-performing measuring models. We got so much to contribute. I hope these technologies will be effectively spilled over so that the vast lands of East Asia can become a powerful carbon sinks. Like the forest restoration project in 2022, these efforts definitely revived not only forests but also communities and people. The fires left us huge damages, but a new paradigm of cooperation and restoration is emerging. Now, we must move forward global collaboration that is the true just transition in the era of climate crisis. So we can pass the most, sorry. So we can pass the most valuable legacy to our next generation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Hyunsa, for sharing your insights. I think especially in a time when wildfire are increasingly threatening our planet, Hyunsa's presentation was a powerful reminder that we have to restore our forests in a shared global effort. And finally, we have Sewan Oh, majoring in Spanish at Kyung University, and she'll present on Just Transform, the global agenda for the loss and recovery of relational justice. Let's give a big round of applause.
Hello, global leaders who share the responsibility for climate action and transition. I'm Sewan Oh, a senior in the Department of Spanish at Kyung University. Today, I would like to discuss the intensifying gap between the principles and the reality of the just transition, an international obligation to respect the rights of vulnerable groups, including local communities, non-regular workers, and indigenous peoples during the shift to a carbon-neutral society. So, my inquiry begins with the inequality of transition occurring in South Korea. Nowadays, the Korean government is advancing large-scale offshore wind projects that equivalent to 34 nuclear power plants in areas like Yeonggwang, Goheung, and Ulsan. The Yeonggwang Fishermen's Association voices grave concerns. Large-scale offshore wind farms will reduce fishing grounds and cause inevitable damage to their livelihoods through seabed disturbance and water pollution. They demand compensation for actual damage and guaranteed community participation, claiming the project proceeded without sufficient compensation or consultation and that they are losing their fundamental homes and workplaces. Despite the promise under Korea's Framework Act on carbon neutrality and green growth to minimize harm to vulnerable groups, this pledge is not being fulfilled. An institutional framework for a farmer and fisher-led just transition is urgently needed. Just as the burden of transition is concentrated on farmers, fishers, and transition-related workers in Korea, the rights of workers, local communities, and indigenous people are also being ignored in Latin America. In La Guajira, Colombia, wind farm development has infringed upon the land rights of the Wayuu people, and the Belo Monte hydroelectric plant in Brazil forcibly displaced tens of thousands of Amazonian indigenous residents. Conversely, the Mapuche Lafkencha people of Chile secured the right to manage their coastal resources through the Lafkencha law, showing the community autonomy leads to sustainable transition. The Yucatan government in Mexico also demonstrated a working model fostering cooperation among various actors to implement climate programs, showing that an institutional framework can support local resilience. So, have you heard of Buen Vivir before? Buen Vivir, rooted in indigenous practices, means achieving harmony and balance with nature rather than prioritizing accumulation or growth. Its three principles, communalism, balance, and complementarity, offer an ecological transition discourse that transcends the economic limitations of the current just transition paradigm. The Yucatan example confirms that while governmental frameworks are essential, embedding the values of community and nature within those frameworks is the role of philosophy. Ultimately, we must view the transition not merely as economic compensation, but as the recovery of relationships and values. This philosophical insight of Buen Vivir is no longer an ideal, but an urgent, actionable goal. We must set our objective to realize a just transition that legally guarantees local community self-determination, and it is time to discuss concrete actions. Institutionally, in Korea, we must mandate a prior consent procedure for local communities in all transition projects and swiftly enact a special act on rural and fishing community transition to protect these vulnerable groups. Regarding international accountability, as an OECD DOC member, Korea should legally enforce human rights and environmental due diligence, explicitly including respect for indigenous rights in all overseas ODA and investments. Finally, for direct action, we must drive this change by actively supporting the establishment of cooperative community models in rural and fishing areas within Korea. So, I believe that when building local resilience to climate change, doing so within and with the local community is essential. Through the transition of values and relationships, not just technology, we can finally achieve a sustainable future where everyone truly lives well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to our presenters for sharing your insightful thoughts and ideas. Let's give them another big round of applause. Now we'll move on to next Q&A session. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to raise your hand and our staff will bring a microphone to you. Is there any questions or comments that you want to share? No questions? No comments? You can freely share your comments. Let's wait for about 5 to 10 seconds, and if there are no any questions or comments, we'll just move on to the next sessions. Isn't there anyone who want to share your comments or thoughts? Yeah, can you please share your thoughts, please? Can you please deliver him a microphone, please?
It's working? Hello?
Yes, please.
Hi. Hi, I'm Rodrigo Astorga from the Heinrich Boll Foundation in Santiago de Chile. We're in charge of Chile, Peru, and Bolivia. And pretty interesting, all the presentations, obviously. But I want to understand more what you think, like Korea in a wide way, or Asia in a big way, and Korea in specific. You're talking a lot about relation with the local communities, but you're not talking about democracy. What it means, relationship with local communities. Could be on just transition, could be on sports, could be on forestry, like after a wildfire, for example. But how we move the political system in order to actually build these capacities between political parties or civil society, local communities. I don't know, maybe it's interesting if some of you can explain a little bit how it works, like top-down perspective, or on the otherwise could be bottom-up, like how it comes the demand from the local communities to the high levels.
Would anyone like to respond to this question? Or use delegates like presenters? Maybe Sawanu, please. Can you please come here, stand, and answer the questions? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So you wonder the relationship of the local community and the just transition?
Yeah, okay. We can see that perspective. It's super interesting if you can talk about that.
So in my opinion, like 2 days ago in COP30 at the exit, there's the manifestantes de los in Spanish, and with the indigenous people.
Yeah, exactly. Like the protests that get inside the blue
Yeah.
zone.
So they want to participate the meeting with the other people who share the opinion of this just transition or the development of the territory. So I think this relationship should be more accept them, their opinion or their situation, and we have to listen carefully more, and we have to make the rule for the specific rule for them so we can protect them. And the just transition is not only technology to change the society neutral, carbon neutral, it's also should be include the more how to say.
Take your time.
Yeah.
No, don't worry.
Can I explain in Spanish?
Obviously, it's my mother's language.
Más so, entonces, los tamaños de sociedad debe que más grande, no solo como las personas que
Oh, don't worry. We can keep the conversation on these issues.
Yeah.
Also gonna say some stuff later in
tengo
the
que
third part.
organizar mi opinión.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry. I didn't want to.
Entiendo.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
by the
you
way.
so much for your answers. And actually, there are various bottom-up movements in Korea. So I'm not sure if you haven't heard about it, but because like last December, the former President Yoon declared the martial law, and there was a bunch of movements. So people were holding their light sticks and shouting for impeachment of the President Yoon. And finally, this year, April, he got impeached. And there's like new presidency in Korea right now. So this kind of the bottom up movements keep like going on in Korea. And me as civil society, I'm always like shouting for my voices related with climate, climate crisis and also human rights. So I think we still have to keep shouting for our voices to make the bottom of change possible. So yeah, I hope this made your answers. So I think this is all the Q&A sessions. So thank you once again of all our youth speakers from Kyung University. Now we'll move on to the part 2, which is the panel discussions. So this concludes my part as the moderator, and from here, Soyeon Kim will take over the moderator for the next sessions. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, I'm Soyeon Kim. I'm the moderator of part 2, and yes, let's straight go into it. So now we have a panel discussion with amazing youth leaders, global leaders. Okay, here now we invite 3 guests. Soyeon Kim, please come up to the stage. Bruno Janet from LCOY Brazil, and from Brazil, and Misato Fujita from Japan. Welcome, everyone. Okay. Do you want to do? Yes. Let's all sit down and talk about it. Okay. So you can have this pointer first, Lucy, if you. Yes. Okay. So today we have a very special guest from Korea, Brazil, and Japan, and now we're gonna be talking about how they got involved in the youth climate activists and other stuff. Okay, so let's start by introducing ourselves. So how do you describe yourself? Do you want to start with Lucy, Bruno, and Misato, please?
Hello, I am Soyeon, but I have an English name which she called Lucy, but I'll go by Soyeon. It's more closer to my identity. Right now I'm studying human ecology in my master's program in Lund University, Sweden. And I am in a part of the organization that I co-founded with Soyeon called Coolimate, which I'm going to introduce a little bit later. And I'm a very passionate person in terms of human rights, feminism, climate justice. And I'm very happy to be here to share my insights with you guys, and welcome to give me any feedbacks or share your insights as well. Yes. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yay. And over to you, Bruno.
안녕하세요, everyone. I am Bruno. I am part of Eco pelo Clima, which is an organization from the south of Brazil. It's an organization that started in 2019 together with this whole rise of the youth from the Fridays for Future movement inspired by Greta Thunberg, and we really strive to bring about change in our state in the climate discussion, especially with a law of a declaration of climate emergency in one of the most affected states by climate change here in Brazil, where we had major floods, and we are also the biggest co-producing state in Brazil. So yes, that's it.
Thank you. Can you pass the mic to Misato? Yes, thank you.
Hi, 안녕하세요. I'm Misato from Japan, and I'm a member of Japan Youth Platform for Sustainability, as known JIPS. JIPS is a youth platform founded on 2015, and that brings youth voice to governance and United Nations to help achieving sustainable development goals. Our platform has 700 people, including some youth groups. So we collect youth voice to create some proposals, and we also participate in conference like COP, HLPF, and ECOSOC Youth Forum. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So now let's go by Lucy again. Lucy yourself. So now we're more curious about what you did. So what's your initiative or any activities you participated in addressing the climate change?
To briefly introduce the organization that I mentioned called Coolimate, it's Coolimate. It has a dual meaning. The first one is I want to lower the temperature of the earth. Well, not realistically, but that has the meaning of the climate symbol. And also the second one is I wanting to make the climate activity and engagement more cool and inspiring and motivational for the youths to participate in together. So I did a little bit of wordplay. So it sounds like climate, but it's Coolimate. And we have a slogan, inclusive, adaptable education for all. And under this slogan, we have international climate education programs and projects that we develop. And also we work in domestically developing educational curricula and class materials for the high schoolers in South Korea as well. So to go a little more deeper, I want to share the key activities that we did under Coolimate. The first one is LCOY Korea 2025. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It's called Local Conference of Youth, endorsed by YOUNGO, the Youth and Child Constituency of UNFCCC. And this year, Coolimate hosted it with 150 participants and about 30 speakers. And the theme of it was Reclimate. We had 3 parts. The first one, rethink. Second, reconnect. Third, respond. And yeah, we try to include every youth across the globe, not the globe, hopefully across the nation, from major cities like Seoul, Busan, and Incheon to Jeju Island. And the key point of the LCOY was to draw an NYS National Youth Statement. And we draw on it with the 5 key topics: forestry, education, climate finance, energy, and international cooperation. And as I mentioned slightly, we also do extracurricular lectures for Korean high schoolers. Sorry, oh, can you see it? Yeah. The first picture, as you can see. And internationally, we did a project in Madagascar in 2024, April to September. It's called Climata Project. It's a word combined with climate in Madagascar. It was to design the local context reflective climate change educational curriculum and materials for primary school students in northeastern part of Madagascar. And we collaborated with the NGO, local NGO there. And we also did teachers workshop to develop how to make the education more sustainable and more creative. Recently, I went to Germany, and it was the time that I just started my master's program in human ecology in Lund University, where I was feeling very strong about my identity as Korean. So I was thinking what would be the most effective thing, and also to implement what's under their slogan of LCOY Germany, which is think locally, act globally. So I was thinking what would be the most effective thing to represent Korea. And I thought the strongest power is the soft power, the K-pop. Especially there is a sensational movie called K-pop Demon Hunters that got famous in Netflix. And I twisted it a little bit and made a workshop project called K-pop Climate Demon Hunters. And we did a specific game like climate bingo and becoming a climate hunters and taking down the climate demons that we named. And that's what we did in LCOY Germany to connect the bridge between act locally and also act globally. And the most recent project that we did, this is the last one, is called Saga Project. And we collected oral testimonies of the cyclone impacts, the damages, the resilience, the restoration of northeastern part of Madagascar. We interviewed 4 different groups: farmer, women, principals, and mayor. And because we believe in the importance of collecting local knowledge and hearing from the local people to contribute to more equitable and just climate education. So yeah, those are the key projects that we did so far, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Lucy. And it's very like you're doing a very active work in domestically and also internationally. And also this to add on, this project was done by funded by the Heinrich Foundation East Asia office, right? Yes. So now let's move on to Bruno. So can you share your initiative and what you participated in and what you're passionate about?
Okay, so I wanted to start by saying that Ecopelo Clima's work is very connected to the regional fights that need to take place in Latin America. We not only have the problems that the climate change affects us really harshly, we also need to fight against new extractivist projects that are, trying to be implemented in a very poorly planned way. So one of the biggest first battles of Ecopelo Clima was the fight against the would-be biggest coal mine, open pit coal mine in Latin America that will try to be open near our city, and that is called Mina Guaíba. And this battle really shaped our activism, because not only introduce ourselves to a climate movement that has a long tradition here in Brazil, we have great leaders among the elders that we have, Chico Mendes, Marina Silva, people that fought and died for the climate, for the movement, and especially it's important for all of us to know that we are in a territory that is very hard to be a climate activist, because Brazil is the second country that kills the most amount of climate activists for the environment in general, and of course half of them are indigenous people. So it's a very very dangerous thing to do to try to fight for the climate here in South America. And we, as I said in the first stage, we push for a climate climate emergency declaration bill in our state that we helped to write, and it would make the state of Rio Grande do Sul the first state in Brazil to declare climate emergency. But sadly, we have few hopes that it will pass through all the process and get accepted by the state government, and the difficult political situations that we have in our state, because even though we are one of the most affected, here are some actions of what we've been a part of. I led many cleaning projects in neighborhoods near my house that were heavily affected by the rains of 2024 and the floodings that occurred afterwards. And even though this all happened, we re-elected the mayor that destroyed our protection infrastructure that my city has of walls and water pumps that basically were totally destructed by the strengthening of a private partnership that wants to end up with a privatized water system in my city. And that's very sad, because Porto Alegre has a long history of actually being a progressive state, progressive city here in Brazil. In my state, we had the start of the MST, the movement for free land, basically here in Brazil. We also had a legality campaign that pushed for democracy in Brazil. That was very important. And now we are seeing this response that not only makes our people more vulnerable, but it also really makes it harder for the youth to see themselves in the future in this space that might not be a safe space in the years to come. So that's what we try to do in Eco Pelo Clima, to kind of give hope that our state will be a safe space if we fight for it, if we push for it, and that's what we'll try to do today and tomorrow in the global climate strike in the 14th. Be there. It's in the morning. Look at Fridays for Future Brazil, and we'll push a lot for these changes here in Brazil and in our state. And I hope COP has important spot in this fight to revitalize the climate youth movement that we saw once so strong in maybe 2019, and now we need to create a new and bigger one with more strength than ever.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your great work. And since this is a COP of truth and COP of implementation, we are having these guests who are doing the implementation in the field. So now let's move on to Misato. Please share your initiative and what you're doing. I'm sorry, but Japan is very close to Korea. It's a neighbor country, so I'm more curious about what Misato is doing.
Yes. Okay, thanks so much. Japan has LCOY too, but the organizer is different. We had worked on include youth perspective in VNR reports. Do you know VNR? VNR is Voluntary National Reviews. Voluntary National Review is a report. Each country is reviewed as a progress and challenges in achieving sustainable development goals of 2030 agenda. Japan has submitted its third VNR this past July. We followed Japan's voluntary national reviews by discussing and reviewing at the sub-regional and regional levels, such as Northeast Asia Multi-Stakeholder Conference and Asia Pacific Forums on Sustainable Development for several years. ZIPS is the only youth group in Japan to join this conference and present youth statement together as a country's youth. So in order to reflect the youth perspective in Japan's VNR, we have implemented some projects from 2023 to 2024. The last year we made a youth report on Japan's progress towards the SDGs zone. And it was shared in Japan's voluntary national reviews as a youth column. Now that Japan's VNR submitted into UN this July, so now we focus on how we can empower youth presence during the last 5 years of SDGs. Japan plan to update its SDG implementation guideline in 2027. So we are working hard to build stronger partnership with many sectors to collect the voice of youth to reflect in the new guideline. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing, Misato. And I assume you're also working as a group, and also we can see many reports and statements writing down. That's also very important when you have a public discussions and making the collective voice from the people and then deliver it to the policymakers. It's very important. Thank you for your helpful initiative, introducing your initiative. And now let's go back to Lucy yourself. And so now we all know what they are doing, their initiative, and we are wondering what insights did you can bring from your activities. And yes, insights. Can we start with Bruno? I'm curious about his.
You can all start first. It's up to you. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I believe a important insight that we need to have, especially during COP and during these discussions during COY that we were a part of, is the importance of including the communities from the territory inside the discussions. I think it's very important that we not only do these discussions in Portuguese or maybe even like in regional indigenous languages, but we need to realize that the climate discussions, they are heavily extra complicated, like everything is a big word soup when you have a bunch of different letters to mean a specific thing. And of course, you have the negotiation rooms where those words, they have kind of a necessity. They need to discuss complex subjects very quickly and to have insights of what each country is thinking about that, or maybe each interest group is thinking about that. But we don't need to bring this to our discussions outside of the negotiation rooms. We need to make it as easy as possible for us all to discuss about climate change. And we cannot just get stuck here in the blue zone. We need to take a look at the green zone. We need to go to Cúpula dos Povos. We need to get inspired by what the local communities are fighting for here in Belém, because we are in the middle of the Amazon. They have been protecting the climate as a whole way before any of our organizations have been protecting, and it's important to understand how this historical knowledge can shape a little bit our future actions.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your insights and also your impression about the whole COP30 is going on. Because I believe we youth leaders are coming here to also inspire by each other. And I think what you feel in this environment, the COP, everything is happening. What do you feel about? How do you feel about this happening? Is also very welcome to share. So, yeah. Lucy, you wanna go?
Insights. There's a lot of insights, but I want to focus more about personal insights and also in my own country, South Korea. And maybe I'm a little salty today. I'm a little critical, but I'm gonna be honest. Because I think we have to talk about criticism. We have to talk about the issues and the challenges to be able to improve. So going back to my identity story a little bit, when I started my master's in Sweden, and Sweden, as you guys already know, is a very sustainable country, I would say. They work really hard for the sustainability, climate, environment, not only in education that I'm majoring in, but also in culture, the politics, and economics, and every part of the society is focused on that. They include that issue in every realm. And it gave me a very big contrast to where I'm from, South Korea, where there's youth and there are people interested in that, but it's only circulating within them. It's like an algorithm on your phone. When you open YouTube, for example, you only see the videos that you already are interested in. So every time I go to climate conference or the discussions, I meet the same people every day. And I'm wondering, how can we broaden the audience and make them include climate issues in their own identity, in their own issues? How can they feel that it's more tangible and it's important for them as well? That is the question that I always have. And I had this talk with my friend who's interested in climate issues as well, and she has been thinking a lot about this as well in Korea. And I honestly feel like there's a very big structural issue where they can't really have time and energy to focus on climate issues because they're so busy in focusing on their individual issues about getting jobs, going into university, getting married, or being successful. So
they feel like climate issues is something luxurious, something very specific, something very particular. I think there's a structure issue for sure, and it makes the individual feel helpless because they don't really connect that issue with themselves, so they don't feel like it's their issues. They don't feel responsible for that. They are aware of that. The earth is getting hotter, the summer is getting longer, the winter is getting longer. There's no spring, there's no autumn anymore in Korea, but they're not really aware to the point that this is something that we have to solve. This is something that is important for me. This is something that not only for future generation, but for the current generation we have to solve. And so to be able to solve this, I don't have a clear answer, but we have to definitely make it more tangible. We have to make the small wins, a lot of experiences where the youth can experience that, oh, I am powerful enough to solve this issue, or at least contribute to solving this issue. For example, like LCOY, having climate discussions and making it to connect to the policy level as well, not only just the discussion that circulates within them. I feel like that will give them the confidence to be able to participate more, and also the culture, because as I say, K-pop, K-drama, as you guys all know, soft power in Korea is amazing. We gotta use what we already have. And I feel like there is a potential in the K-pop or K-drama industry as well, the culture industry, because it spreads so fast, especially among the youths. But ironically, they are the industry that produces the most greenhouse gas emissions by the world tour, making the CDs, making the goods. But because there are fans that have this very strong fandom culture of this idol or the actors, I believe that if they feel the importance of these climate issues and they can integrate it, they can be a really strong team to solve this together. So I see the culture potential and also the structure changes of making the Korean society less stressful, less competitive, and open more possibility for them to really be themselves, think about their positionality of just like I did in Sweden. So yeah, there's many things that we have to consider at the same time, but this is the insight that I take on. I wish to see more broader audiences in the future.
Thank you so much for sharing, including the broader audiences in this field, and also the power of culture. Okay, now over to you, Misato. Yes.
Okay. I want to talking about Japan's youth people. I think Japan's youth are more interested in environmental issues now, because every summer is hotter than last, and our 4 seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter, is disappearing now. So, but I think it's still hard to say this interest rates some social movement or some real action. Many climate actions are limited to posting on social media or just join local events, clean up events, or join some volunteer to go abroad. I think to go volunteer tour to go abroad is more popular in Japan among high school students and university students, because this is very useful for job hunting or university entrance examination. So, but I think, yeah, back to the topic, in our youth report on towards SDGs, about 85% of respondents are taking some climate action in Japan. However, the majority of these actions are focused on changing some people's, however, behavior. Not very few people engaging in advocacy. I think it's some problems in Japan, and I think there is two reasons. First, climate action usually takes place outside of schools. So many students are very busy about studies or some club activities. So to make climate action not top priority, so the level to commit is high or low, is go up or go down is, yeah, so many activities tend to be one-time action. So second, the number of climate activists is very, how to say, small. The very few people to act small climate activities. I said our platform has over 700 members, but in my high school there are over 1,000 people, but it's only me to active something is only me. So I don't have enough information, and I have no role models. Of course, I cannot support from my families and teachers. So this is very hard to keep climate action, I think. But this is some good opportunity for us. A lot of companies joining our high school and university programs to give us the chance to learn new technology and information. So we can thinking about more concrete actions and take some actions, and we can produce some real products. So this successful experience is very important for Japanese youth because a lot of Japanese guys are doing some clean up events because we can experience it in elementary schools, so it is hard to act. Yeah. So yeah, that's all. Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing. Even though it's a very hard situation, you were very challenging when you were being as a Japanese climate activist. And actually, I heard this from another Japanese activist, and I am hearing same with you. So, just like you mentioned, the raising awareness is the very fundamental and I think it's one of the very most important thing that you should do. And also, you mentioned the education. So now, but I think we all are in the similar situation that we are also very solo fighting. Sometimes we're very lonely in this world, but the climate crisis is happening right now. We know what we should do, but it's really not easy to do, keep doing it, sustain it. So that's why I think COP is also here for more for youth to come here and also interact with each other, not only for just inspired by the negotiations or other events, get the knowledge, but also we each other should support and encourage each other. So thank you so much for your very insightful stories. And if you like to add more on this, very compact, please.
I actually wanted to add just one more thing. It's also related to what Coolimate is aiming for, the more equitable, adaptable climate justice. And this is a note that I wrote after the protests happened a few days ago, as you all know, by indigenous groups of people. So I'm just going to read my note shortly, if you guys don't mind. I hear the phrase indigenous voices instead of expertise. I'm reminded of how unequal our global knowledge systems still are. Western frameworks continue to dominate how we define what counts as expertise, even in conversations about justice and sustainability. As we prepare for COP30 in Brazil, I can't help but wonder, will the people from the forest, whose islands and lives are most affected, even be able to access the Blue Zone? When we hold plenary sessions on indigenous justice without indigenous people truly present or empowered, can we really call that justice? the badge that grants us entry into these spaces, it is a privilege that someone else, perhaps most directly impacted, did not receive. So I ask myself, what gives us the right to hold this badge? If the same right is denied to those whose knowledge sustains the very ecosystems we discuss. True climate justice begins when access, expertise, and decision-making are shared, not spoken about, but with those who live the reality we aim to protect. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Actually, we were talking about the qualification of this, right? And yeah, I thank you for bringing this critical feedback up. Do you want to add on to this, Bruno? Because you are Brazilian and you saw what was happening in the day too. We all saw it.
Yeah, of course. I would say Brazil has a different experience maybe than other countries. Of course, other countries in Latin America and in Asia also have this experience. But we have a bunch of communities that have no contact, direct contact, continuously with the Western civilization. There's a bunch of communities that made a choice of living far away from the urbanized society. And this really shreds some concepts that we have of, for example, what is the goal of everyone, because everyone wants to live in a urbanized place with a car and a big pool by their house, but sometimes quality of life for them it's also attached to the quality of the place that they are and the nature that they feel they are one with. And we also we have this fight not only in COP, but for example in my university, that it's really hard to I would say for the academy to accept indigenous knowledge as knowledge, especially because when indigenous academics they try to use their knowledge, they end up with the problem of not having a reference to which to cite to, because if you go back to science, you will be always citing white Europeans as the primary thinkers of science, and spoken language is oftentimes dismissed as something not worthy of science. So it is, Brazil has a long experience of how to actually create harmony between those communities and the goals that Brazil has of development. Of course, oftentimes the problems they don't get solved the way that we want in a harmonious ways. The indigenous communities, they have the right of their land, and oftentimes those that actually decide what to do with their land, it does not represent them. So it's something that not only COP, not only the international states need to adapt to, but Brazil and its institutions as a whole need to adapt to how to better, understand their knowledge and make them feel as part of the country that they are a part of.
Thank you so much. Actually, this conversation was way, way, way deeper than I thought, because I thought first we were sharing our achievements and our good things, what we did good, and sharing our good insights. But when I think it's always really good to go deeper and also being critical about it. Bruno mentioned about those community realities and his experiences, and we now reached to the decolonizations of, and I think this conversation, this dialogue should be continued in the next COPs and also in other public discussions. So, and also Misato also brought up the challenges of the Japanese society and how we can address this. We can all fighting for this, and we are all here together to talk about this. I think this is very meaningful that we are all here in this together. So yes, let's give, now it's time to wrap up. So I will wrap this up and also having another panels for some new comments. So yeah, now let's give a big applause to the global youth leaders from Japan, Brazil, and South Korea. Thank you so much. Yes.
감사합니다.
Yes, thank you. Yes, you can go down for this side. Yes, thank you. Oh yes, of course. Thank you. Okay, so the next part is now we have, it's the last part, the panel discussion. We have two guests. We are welcoming Jung the Director of Energy and Climate Policy Institute in Korea. Is here to the stage. Please give a big applause to welcoming and we are welcoming Rodrigo Astorga here on the stage. He's from the Heinrich Foundation in Chile office, right? Yes, thank you. So yes, this is our last session, last part. I will ask the questions to you first, Rodrigo. Yes, because I can see you're already very ready for it. Okay, so you can really give us the overall comments about today's session and also what you want to speak to the global youth today here. Yes, in the perspective of your and also the Heinrich Bell Foundation's perspective. Thank you.
And thank you for the invitation. Like it's a pleasure to be in this pavilion today. There's so many things that were said on all these presentations. First of all, I want to totally agree about what Bruno said and what Lucy said. This justice perspective, sorry, and the possibility of actually local communities or indigenous communities to participate in politics, because in the end we're talking about politics. So let's make a political context first of all right? What's happening now, at least at West, in the West world? We have a rise of the extreme right. That's the thing it's happening. Climate denial globally and of course in Latin America. And that threats democracy, science, and collective responsibility. So that's the context, that's the political context where we're trying to work on the environmental justice, participation, and so on. So what I see many times, it's kind of social media activism, but not really, like we must go beyond that. Social media is important, right? But we need to work on a political basis. We need, for example, long-term political work and alliance. For example, between Chile and Korea, or between countries in Latin America, or between Bolivia, Peru, and Chile. Sorry, I work in the South Andean countries. That's why I'm talking about Chile, Bolivia, and Peru. I think the key is the political ecology education. And that's something that I miss hearing on this speech of the people here. Like, instead of, I agree in many things that Lucy said, but on one point she said, think globally, act locally. But that's very hard when our democracies are in danger. And that's what I feel now that's happening. It's hard to link power, territory, and nature. We need environmental justice. We we need to understand environmental justice as a democratic challenge. And that's the key. It's a democratic challenge. So, we have this context, we have this challenge, we need multilateralism, and we need civic participation. That's what we're talking about, right? And we are now at the COP30. What's the importance of this COP? I think people are stopping to believe that these instances can change something. And our political job, in the end, we have to change from people, from doubters to believers. That's a quote of a manager. But I think that's really important, not only in Brazil, but all around the world. We need to build cooperation instead of isolation. This challenge is not just of one community or one country. It's about how we can cooperate with differences, with different political perspective also. We don't believe in the same things, but we have a common challenge. That's really important. So support youth networks and democratic dialogue. It's what the Heinrich Boll Foundation do as job. Promoting sociological justice with cooperation through our partners on education and political incidents. For example, we have here some parties or partners, may I say, 1.5 in Spanish. It's a youth organization that started also with the LCOY and so on. And we also have other partners that are working hard on all these issues. I think that youth globally shouldn't just respond or adjust to climate crisis, but also actively change the political and social structures. I think that's key. We need to engage directly with political parties so that democracy works, to bring real environmental priorities into their core programs. So what we need to start doing hardly is political education, like the political ecology perspective on youth. And I want to change what you said before. This is not criticism. This is radical realism. And thank you very much to hear my perspective.
Thank you very much. It was very powerful.
Oh.
Okay, over to Jungpil Lee, please. Share your comments to all the youth.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Jungpil Lee. I'm director of ECPI. ECPI means Allergen Police. Okay. Allergen Climate Police Institute for Just Transition. In shortly, ECPI. I'm so tired. Are you okay? I think this is very hard. COP30 Convention Center, especially Korea Pavilion. I think it seems like hot air. Do you agree? Hot air. This is justice. No. Justice. Climate justice. No. Climate injustice. Just transition. No. Unjust transition. Do you agree? But it's a pleasure to join this event as a panelist. And now let's begin my discussion. Firstly, I'm very inspired by the diverse voice of Korea and Asia and South America. Firstly, context-specific approach is very important because the situation is country and local region is very different. And also, international solidarity must be strengthened to realize the common principle of climate justice and just transition. Therefore, based on mutual understanding, we must overcome the business as usual (BAU) by focusing on the root contradiction and conflict of the climate crisis. We need to overcome conflict issue directly in order to capture opportunity for collaboration. So we must advocate for human fundamental rights against the power, capital, violence, and so on, which delay or obstruct the response to the climate crisis and energy transition. And next.
Thank you so much, both. Yes. Now, yeah, let's give a big applause to both for the comments. Really good comments. It was really good that you all saw this youth movement, and you were also youth when you were young. And
I'm still young.
Oh yeah.
Just joking.
Yeah. So yes, thank you so much for bringing this up today, and maybe let's then wrap it up. Yes.
Sorry, maybe I didn't get what you were wrap it up. You mean like the whole all the speeches?
Yes. Now we have a time constraint, and yes, I think now it's the time we can wrap up the moment. If you have something to also share more, you can make it compact, but also yes, you can.
Yeah, like I think we on the first part we talk about perspectives, like things that we can do locally, and that's super important. Like I don't want to be rude, for example, with the phrase of Lucy, like think globally, act locally. That is very important, you know. But on the second part, we saw a more realistic perspective on what's going on generally. Like on the first part, we hear about different actions that are developing, at least in Korea, so on, and super interesting. For example, I remember the concept of buen vivir that we will talk about, and that the classical West perspective of what means to be successful or what it means to be rich or wealth, it's just one dimension of life. We have many dimensions. Or, for example, to be involved with communities for reforestation after a fire, a wildfire. That's super political also, like trying to work, cooperating with others. On the second part, I hear more political discussion about what's the crisis we're trying to confront. And I love to hear these ideas of what is the meaning of the COP, who should be here, why do we have this pass, you know, and are we actually trying to do something, solve something? Like how can we tackle down this thing? Like how we can confront this huge challenge. Bruno, from the perspective of Rio Grande do Sul, south of Brazil, super interesting, and and also nice ideas like binding or binding or linking. Sorry, again with also stuff that you can do like that to get people involved. But still, in the last part, I just want to say again that democracy is the main challenge, and we need to get involved with a political ecology perspective and try to to get into political parties and change the priorities of democracy. Get involved, get in the core of the political programs. That's the main point. That's what the youth must do now. Otherwise, it's impossible with the context we're confronting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. It's very helpful for everyone. And also, thank you so much for bringing up this very important intersectoral issues and also the political perspective. Okay, now let's give a big applause to two great people today. And yes, and let's bring them to the... Yes, you can now go to your seats. Thank you so much. Okay, now we have our last panels. So we're gonna closing, and we are inviting the professor Lee Kang-jun to the stage now to have the closing remarks.
네, 반갑습니다. Hello. 이강준입니다. 오늘 이 자리에서 아시아와 남미 청년들이 기후에 맞선 목소리를 냈습니다. 제가 개인적으로 굉장히 좋아하는 시 규절인데요. 마가리 휘틀리의 시입니다. 서로에게 기대어 보기라는 시에 나오는 대목인데요. 새로운 연결에서 창조적인 해결책이 나온다는 점을 잊지 말기를. 미래는 청년 여러분들의 몫입니다. 우리의 행동이 우리의 미래입니다. 벨랭에서 여러분들을 만나게 돼서 반가웠습니다. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. So I can briefly summarize what he just said. Today in this space, young people from Asia and South America have shared their voices in confronting the climate crisis. In Margaret Whitley's poem, Turning to One Another, there is a line, knowing that creative solutions come from new connections. So our future belongs to you, the youth. Our actions are our future. It was wonderful to meet you in Beleng. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Now with yes. Yes, thank you, everyone. Now we're all be freely to do the networking to each other. And please, the guest speakers and panelists, please come up to the stage for the last photo time. Let's take a photo for the last time. Please come up to the stage with panelists and presenters. Yes. Let's take a photo and then let's have a rest. Okay, so let's take a photo with people who are here now. 있는 사람만 찍을까요? 그러게, 미사토도 어디 갔는지. Yes, it's great. Thank you. Thank you so much.